The fact that President Trump was able to get the results he did, the fact that Judicial Watch was able to get the results we did, is because not only of great lawyering by Judicial Watch lawyers, of course, but because the raid is suspect. This is an unpleasant time for America, and pray for the country. But the good news is the rule of law still matters. As Judicial Watch has explained, as I've explained, as soon as the raid happened, Judicial Watch leapt into action to try to gain access to the records about the raid, sought the court permission to unseal the information. The Biden administration, of course, opposed this, didn't want any of it coming out, but we forced it all out over their objections. Not all of it, some of it is still redacted, and we may fight more on that. But we got the warrant, we got the affidavit. The documents show, in my view, that there was no good faith basis for raiding the president's home. It was all pretextual, or making it up in the sense of misstating what the law was in terms of how records can be handled by a former president. And, I think misleading the court and getting that warrant approved. And then the next big vindication of the rule of law came with President Trump's separate action in Florida seeking a special master, which is essentially a judicial official, a judicial appointed official, that would review some of the documents for, to make sure that they don't have anything they're not supposed to have. I'm trying to summarize here. And of course, the Justice Department didn't want the court to even consider that. And they said, but Trump has no position. He doesn't even have the standing to request that. And the court rejected it. So we've had now two courts reject extreme Biden Justice Department legal positions to justify the raid or to protect information about the raid, or in the case of Trump, protecting Trump's rights that resulted as a result that were harmed as a result of the raid. And the Justice Department lost on both measures. So you've had two courts push back on the Justice Department's raid in a way that normally doesn't happen. I mean, if you're the subject typically of a federal criminal investigation, your home gets raided, the Justice Department has you in their sights, and you start asking questions of the Justice Department, demanding access and accountability, typically the courts don't look favorably on that. You don't want to be a defendant or the target of Justice Department criminal investigation in our federal court system. It's designed to let the Justice Department and the prosecutors essentially try to gather evidence and move along things to get their case done. And so it's kind of hard to assert your rights in an aggressive way. I guess it's not hard to do it technically, but in terms of getting good results, it's usually difficult. And the fact that President Trump was able to get the results he did, the fact that Judicial Watch was able to get the results we did, is because not only of great lawyering by Judicial Watch lawyers, of course, but because the raid is suspect. The raid is legally sketchy. The arguments that the Justice Department has used to justify the raid are sketchy and weak. I've reviewed, for instance, part of the fight with President Trump in this other court case about the special master is required the Justice Department to file this document explaining itself. And of course it was full of innuendo, misleading descriptions of the state of the law, allegations and suggestions that had really no fair basis of criminality by President Trump and people close to him. It's a propaganda document. And how do I know it's a propaganda document? Because they added one of the most, I think it will, again, this raid will go down in infamy. And one of the reasons it will go down in infamy is because of the seeming misconduct, obvious misconduct, by the Justice Department. And they included, to try to kind of scare the court and provide propaganda material for their allies in the left media, this picture of allegedly secret material that they found in the facilities there at Mar-a-Lago. And I think we're going to post the picture here so you can see it up close. Now, I say it's staged. Now, do I know beyond a shadow of a doubt it's staged? No, but I think based on the fact that I have 2 brain cells, I think it's staged. It's obviously staged. Does anyone seriously believe they found the documents there like that? So, and these documents are supposed to be classified, and they just took them out and put them on the floor like that? Who are they fooling? So they took this document, this opportunity to tell the court why they had a good faith basis to target Trump and what they did and how careful they were, to make a joke and make a mockery of the process by putting in this propaganda photo staged to try to embarrass Trump and force court action. And it just shows you how unprofessional the Justice Department and the FBI are, and why they can't be trusted to handle politically sensitive investigations like this. And it further suggests or confirms that this investigation, as I noted, is conceived in sin. And now they're breaking, when you kind of do something wrong, in order to keep it going, like most improper enterprises, you have to keep on doing additional things that are wrong. And so I, for instance, have never seen, I've been doing this work for nearly 24 years, I've never seen a document, cover letter, like a cover document like that, even in a FOIA context where stuff has been declassified. I mean, just the documents themselves, just the kind of the way they look, the volume, I think is even useful potentially to bad guys who, if they believe this material is classified, why would they show pictures of it like this? To me, it's inherently risky. So there are 2 conclusions, or maybe there's probably more than 2 conclusions. But one conclusion is they don't think it's really classified, so who cares? They're just trying to get their pound of flesh and make Trump look bad, try to distract from their unprecedented raid and the fact there was no good faith basis for it. Or maybe they do think it's classified. Maybe they do think it's serious, but they don't care because it's worth getting Trump to put our national security at risk. And again, I would remind you, and I don't know if President Trump has been as direct as I've been here in his legal pleadings, or at least the pleadings I've been able to read to date, that these records aren't classified. So when you see records that are classified in the home of the president, let's put it this way, in the least it's disputed that they're classified. Because as I have said and I've highlighted, there was this case here in Washington, D.C. that Judicial Watch was involved in, that involved Bill Clinton. He had tapes that had recordations of his conversations, at least his side of the conversation, for instance, with foreign leaders, which are all presumptively classified. And they weren't concerned about that when we sued, because we thought, well, aren't these presidential records just like they're saying about Trump? And the government came back and said no. Now, I know many of you have heard this analysis before, but it bears repeating, especially since the Justice Department continues to mislead and misdirect about this law. And the court found in response to our request that the archives be required at least to ask for this information, saying there's no basis to do that. The archives doesn't have the power to demand documents from a president that has decided to keep documents as personal after he leaves. The government lawyer told the court, hey, the president has these records. He didn't turn them over at the end of his term, so they're presumptively personal. Why didn't they take that approach? Because that's the law, and that was the Justice Department position, and it changed on a dime to go after Trump. So that's the theory, that all of these records are personal records. That's been the position of the Justice Department in a similar case It seems to be the precedent of the courts that have looked at this most carefully, at least in the District of Columbia, the key circuit there. And so that would be the position I'd take. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.